in a draft. And so, ride or die. That's right, ride or die guy. And it could be Justin Fields.
I know.
I haven't talked to Matthew, but I'm getting that feeling that could be the guy this year.
Well, that takes us to our first question from the Spartan Gooner here, who asked, who is your way too early ride or die candidate for the 2023 season? Cris and Ahmed think they're on to you with the Justin Fields prediction.
He's the leading candidate right now. I mean, he's the leader in the clubhouse for sure. I really like Justin Fields this year. I will tell you this. I wish it could be Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson, I'm going to have 3 overall. Like, he's just too obvious. He's too big a name. But if not, it would be Bijan Robinson. I mean, like, because I believe in that kid like, nobody's business. He's going to have a monster year. I think there's a very good chance that he comes in as the number one. He finishes the year as the number one player in fantasy or the number one running back in fantasy. So, but I think that one's a little bit too obvious. So Fields is on the list. Anthony Richardson, I'm toying with.
Wow.
I'm thinking about that.
That's the boom or bust one.
Jameer Gibbs is interesting as well. But so a couple of names there. But I would say if I'm not announcing it yet, but yes, I think Ahmed and Sims are onto something there in terms of Justin Fields is the leader in the clubhouse right now.
Can I throw a name at you?
Sure.
Potential ride or die candidate.
Yeah.
Big name, but is a little bit forgotten. Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert could very easily be the number one quarterback in fantasy. I think that the fact that he was injured last season, people have forgotten how good he was the year before. That offense is going to be the best it's ever been. Now that Eckler is back, just helps him. I think there's a very good chance Herbert is the best quarterback in the league outside of Mahomes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. I'll also say Lamar Jackson. I feel like people are sort of, because he's been injured so much the last 2 years, there was all the drama with the contract. I just don't feel, people are like, Lamar Jackson's fine,
unanimous
whatever.
MVP.
But like that, watch Lamar Jackson. Hey, I got paid. I got Todd Monken. I got Bateman and Zay Flowers and OBJ and Mark Andrews and a running game, and I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to ball out. Anyway, there's a lot of choices. Stay tuned. I'm crunching the numbers.
All right, our next one here says, I feel like
and
Jay,
the chicken. I'm crunching the chicken too.
I feel like Blue Truth might be Jay's burner account. First mate, the happy hour has a chance to be epic. Great chemistry with you, Connor, and the Aussie Gambler.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good name of a riverboat.
Yeah. It does. The Aussie Gambler. You're like the Aussie Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Do you know when to fold them and when to hold them?
Yeah,
Jay?
I do. Yeah, no, I make great calls around that.
All right, good.
Blue Truth did have a question here. Who do you really think will be the 49ers quarterback most relevant for optimizing the aggregate fantasy value for the team? Kind of felt like you hinted at this a little earlier.
Be the 49ers quarterback most relevant for, I think what he's asking there, he's asking is which quarterback would we want for to make sure that Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey have the best fantasy season. And I'll say Brock Purdy just because we saw it last year.
That's good. That's fair.
It wouldn't shock me if Sam Darnold's the guy. It wouldn't shock me if Trey Lance is the guy. But in terms of Brock Purdy's the most known quantity in terms of all those guys had really good fantasy games under Brock Purdy over the final 6 games of the regular season. Sam Darnold, again, we haven't seen him in San Francisco offense. When he was with Carolina, he sort of locked in on DJ Moore, which makes sense because DJ Moore was really all they had. So it's hard to know, will Sam Darnold spread it around and everything like that. I think what I would say is I don't know that it matters because I think that whoever the answer is for Kyle Shanahan is going to be the answer for those guys. Shanahan's got nice options available to him, but I feel like if Brock Purdy is healthy, he's the starter week 1, just based on what he's done. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's not healthy, Darnold comes in, gets that job, and doesn't give it up.
Yep. It's odd to say about a guy who's the last pick in the draft and has played 9 games and is coming off a serious injury, but I feel like he's the safest guy and also the one who's the lowest variance, highest floor. And also the thing is, he's shown that he has a very good connection with George Kittle in particular, where Kittle was putting up big numbers, big touchdown numbers end of last season. Deebo Samuel had a massive playoff game with Brock Purdy. He's shown that he can get those guys the ball. And also they don't really have guys who are super dependent on the deep ball. That's not necessarily the offense. It's more yards after the catch stuff. And Purdy's shown that, he can do that. He can execute. We just haven't seen the other guys.
Yeah, and by the way, also with Trey Lance, there's a scenario where if Trey Lance is a starter, they're doing a lot more option runs with him, and he's just tucking the ball and running, which would be good for the 49ers, but not great for, one of the receivers. Brock Purdy is a stand in the pocket and throw guy. He's got to distribute the ball because he's not running that much. You know what I mean? So, to me, I think to answer your question, I think it's Brock Purdy, who's been there the longest. Whatever. Of those three guys, he's started the most games for the 49ers, as insane as that is.
Yeah.
He has, and again, there is some proof of him contributing, him making those guys fantasy superstars.
Yep.
Or helping them to continue to be.
If they like Sam Darnold as much as they do, I would be stunned if they have all three of these guys to start the season. Because this team, right now, they're the second favorite to win the NFC and go to the Super Bowl. Like, they need to get something out of Trey Lance in terms of value to help them win the championship, like, this year. Like, that just doesn't seem like the optimal use of your resources at that point. So I don't know. I don't know what the market is for Trey Lance. Obviously, it's not as high as they would probably like it, but it just doesn't feel like they're all going to be there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Our next question is, this one says, do you put the peanut butter or the jelly on the bread first, crust or no crust? That is from Fortino.
Well, listen, Fortino always comes with the good questions. So first off, let's start with the obvious, crust. Obviously, come on, what are we doing here? Crust,
I'm not
100%
three.
crust. Come on, yeah, exactly. I'm
12,
not.
We're all red-blooded Americans.
Right.
Here.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So I'm not like 2 or 3. And the other thing is, listen, the sandwich is called a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a PB&J, and so that's the order you put it on. You put on the peanut butter, then the jelly. Anything else is un-American.
Yeah, we don't have it this.
Do you do PB&Js in Australia?
No, we don't. No, it's just
Vegemite sandwiches.
Yeah, Vegemite's very overrated.
Yeah, Vegemite and Spam.
Vegemite's incredibly bad. PB, in Australia it's just PB. There's no J. Yeah, there's no.
Really?
Yeah,
it's just peanut butter sandwiches?
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, we don't call it jelly. We call it jam, as well.
I think they're a little different.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
We don't usually combine peanut butter and
jam.
I'm sure there'll be some Australians who take umbrage with that, but that's my understanding of how we play it.
Okay.
So for the kids, do you do things the Australian way? Like, do they only eat peanut butter sandwiches, or do they get the American deliciousness of PB&J?
Or if you're so engaged in the game, or you're just handing them a beer.
Yeah.
You just hand them a beer.
Yeah.
Sip on this.
Exactly.
Get out of my way.
Yeah. No, we're fully assimilated. No, we're all in America. So we're all in peanut butter and jelly.
Okay.
Cheeseburgers, freedom fries.
Cheeseburgers, freedom fries. Yeah, we're big on freedom fries. We
Lovely.
love freedom fries.
Freedom fries.
Yeah. We love big-sized everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your small here is our extra large.
Oh,
in
it's
Australia.
it's
actually sickening.
It's actually
We're a fat country.
the big cup, the 60-ounce
Yeah,
soda.
it's actually unbelievable.
Yes.
We're still adjusting to that. But the kids, it will be their normal as they grow up. Yeah,
Yep.
Everything's bigger.
All right, back to football here. This next one. Who has a bigger season, Ramondre or Javonte Williams? That is from Ryan Ross.
Ramondre.
Yeah, and it's not close.
Decisively, huh?
Not close at all.
Yep.
I mean, I just don't know. I think there's a chance Javonte starts on the PUP list. Even if somehow Javonte Williams is active for week 1, I think it'll be a while before he gets his burst back coming off that ACL. I also think Samaje Perine's going to have a bigger role than people are expecting. Peyton likes to use multiple running backs there. It's all Ramondre in New England. So, yeah, it's Ramondre Stevenson, and it's not particularly close.
The question is Javonte Williams or Ty Montgomery. That's a closer one to me. Ramondre Stevenson, being
I think a
facetious
closer
a little
one
bit.
is Javonte Williams or Samaje Perine, and right now I'd say Perine.
That's the big one, right?
Yeah. Perine, he should go earlier in drafts than Javonte. Yep.
I agree.
Our next one, and you kind of hinted at this earlier here, Barry. Which rookie other than Bijan do you expect to have a great fantasy year? That is from Evan Solomon.
Jahmyr Gibbs obviously would be right up there. I do think Jordan Addison has a really nice year. We talked about Tank Dell earlier in the show. I think he's really interesting. And then obviously it just sort of depends. Like if something were to happen to ETN, Tank Bigsby would be a thing, right? I mean, so it's like if something were to happen to Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet would be a thing. So it's just a matter of opportunity. So, but I think Gibbs should be the second rookie off the board in redraft leagues.
Yep. A-Chain is the other one who really excited for. If there is an injury to most little Wilson, then
there often is.
Tends to
Jeff
be.
Wilson.
And I spoke to him, and I was just like, I said, hey, if you think you could beat, what would happen if you and Tyreek raced in practice? He goes, well, listen, he's like, I'm not going to go challenge him. But he goes, but I wouldn't back down either. Like, if he started talking trash to me, I think I'd have a shot.
I would back down. So
Yes.
we would definitely back down.
Blown hamstring,
Right.
torn Achilles.
But they like A-Chain a lot, and his speed fits in with what they want to do. McDaniel pounding the table for them to go out and drafted him, which they did.
And you think Anthony Richardson has redraft value right now?
I do.
Right. Yeah.
He's my number 13 quarterback in redraft.
Yep.
He's got, again, think about Lamar Jackson's rookie year where they literally would not let him throw. Like it was all running, and he was the 9th best quarterback in fantasy. Jalen Hurts' rookie year, we played 4 games. He didn't really have anyone to throw to. Also run heavy, averaged like a 55% completion percentage his rookie year, maybe even lower. 9th best rookie in fantasy on a points per game basis. Jalen Hurts was for those 4 games. Just the rushing is so powerful, and all Anthony Richardson needs to do is, in addition to the rushing, just learn a package to get the ball to Michael Pittman. I would argue he's coming to as good a situation, if not better, than what Lamar Jackson had, and certainly better than what Jalen Hurts had when he was a rookie, because Doug Peterson was on his way out. They were fighting with Howie Roseman. They had no receivers. Exactly. I mean, his best receiver was Greg Ward, AAF superstar, former college quarterback Greg Ward. Yep. That was his best receiver. Goddard was hurt. Hurts had nobody.
Yeah, I would also say, just from a emotional perspective, you play fantasy mainly, largely because it's fun, and also how fun is it if you're 13th quarterback off the board? That's guys in that range are going to be like Geno Smith and Daniel Jones, or
Derek
Aaron
Carr.
Rodgers, Derek Carr, Tannehill, those that's not fun. It's not fun to take Derek Carr. It's fun to take Anthony Richardson. And also, you're riding so much upside.
Right, and by the way, if for some reason it doesn't work out, it's a position where you can easily replace him.
Yes, you can get relatively high enough floor production out of that position more than any other. It's not like running back where all of a sudden you're really struggling. You'll be able to find a guy, you'll be able to find a Tannehill or something, and just to have Anthony Richardson. I drafted Lamar Jackson his MVP season, and it was just the best thing in the entire world.
Yeah.
It was just the best thing ever, and Richardson could recreate that.
100%. Sticking with the rookie theme, this next question is simply, how high are we drafting Bijan, Matthew Berry?
I think I would, if somebody drafted him 101, I would not be shocked. I would not do that. Again, I like Jefferson better. I like Christian McCaffrey better. I have Eckler ahead of him. I have Kupp ahead of him. So for me, 5 would be the earliest I would take him. But again, I wouldn't, if I was in a draft and I saw somebody else take Bijan Robinson 101, I wouldn't be like, come on, what are you doing? He can be that dude. He can be that dude.
Yep. No, I agree. I think that's right. Those guys are just so much safer. And also, Bijan's ceiling isn't significantly above them to the point where I think it justifies, tackling what will be probably a much lower floor. Just because we haven't seen him. I don't know how many carries Tyler Algier is going to get. Probably not that many, but it could be. And Arthur Smith, can be a problem for fantasy managers.
This next question, one of my favorites here, simply, do you believe John Hammond from Jurassic Park was a madman with a god complex bringing dinosaurs back to life, or a genius who pushed genetics beyond its boundaries for the greater good of scientific exploration? That one is from Coach Booze. Coach Booze.
I like Coach Booze.
On the booze when this question was written.
Unbelievable.
I honestly think he's both. I think he's both. I think he was. I think what?
Cop-out answer. You choose
hang
one.
on. Yes. Look. I think he's clearly a genius. He pushed genetics beyond its boundaries for the greatest good of scientific exploration to understand everything like that. But I also think because he was this genius, he had this kind of madman complex, bringing dinosaurs back to life, and he was focused on, didn't care about the repercussions and everything like that. He was so singularly focused on his goal that he just that he created this. I think similar to the people that are creating AI right now, there's somebody that's going to create an evil robot, and that's going to take over the world.
It's going to multiply.
I'm just saying. So I know it's a cop-out answer, but I really believe it's both. Where do you think? You're Mr. Movie.
You have a firm stance on this.
I'm hugely on the God complex side. I think it went through his head. It's kind of like a Walter White Breaking Bad situation, evil or kind of. No, I think it went to his head. I think both God complexes, both guys, 2-0. God complex.
I'm on the side of that as well.
I
think at some point you got to pull the plug.
Yeah, got to pull the plug. Come on.
I mean it's fair, but I think he was clearly a genius.
The plant-eating
he brought dinosaurs back to life.
Yeah, it was a good effort.
You can't be a dumbass and do that.
It's a great effort.
I could do that.
Smart.
No one on this table could bring
A
dinosaurs
lot of
back to life.
brilliant people, though, absolutely are insane.
Yes.
Walter White is one of them.
Yeah, comes with the territory sometimes.
Yeah.
As Matthew Berry knows.
Yes, 100%.
Great question, Coach. Really like that one.
Coach Booze.
All right, back to football here. Do you think Darnell Washington will take a good chunk of targets away from Pat Freiermuth? That one's from Dom.
I don't
either.
Because I don't think there's a good chunk of targets going to Pat Freiermuth. I mean, I think it's still going to be a run-heavy offense. I think they've got They've got Deontay Johnson there. I think another year of George Pickens. I think he'll get a bigger target share there. You've got Freiermuth. So, no, I don't know how many targets Freiermuth is getting. And so do I think, of whatever Freiermuth is going to get, do I think Darnell Washington, who's a really good blocker as well.
That's the name of his game.
Right. He could be a red zone threat. He could take a couple of touchdowns away from Freiermuth. But no, I still think Freiermuth is a borderline top 10 tight end.
Yeah, I don't have a fear here.
That offense makes you just feel kind of icky and uneasy. You just don't
Fair.
like it. It's just not. It doesn't work. It's not fluid. It's not clean. It doesn't feel like they're optimizing ever. And there's like a lot of talented guys between Freiermuth and Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Najee. Like it just never adds up.
Yeah.
The
line looks better.
Yeah, line should be better.
I think Pickett will be better in his second year.
Pickett quietly ended the season pretty well and had those 2 comebacks in primetime. Like he's got the tools. It just doesn't work. And it's a tough division. Just wouldn't want to be getting involved in the Pittsburgh offense.
You were driving one of your many Rookie of the Year campaigns at one point for Pickett.
I like to campaign.
Yeah. You're like,
Didn't have to
what about Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, he didn't give me much at the end of that last camp.
All right. Keeping it moving. Who is a dark horse fantasy outbreak this season? Someone who won't even get drafted in most leagues, but could be a difference maker. That one.
Firstly, fantasy outbreak sounds like a virus.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes. The fantasy outbreak.
Someone who won't be drafted. I mean, again, that's one of those I'll say 2 of the guys we mentioned here. I mean, I'll say again, Tank Dell and Cedric Tillman. I don't know if either of those guys. I think Tank Dell will get drafted.
We'll talk about them on waivers.
I don't know about we'll definitely talk about them on waivers. But the truth is it's basically asking to predict an injury, like we talked about with Tank Bigsby, right? I mean, do I think Pierre Strong makes a difference? No, but if Ramondre Stevenson goes out for the year, could you see a scenario like that? Yes, you could, right? I'll give you one, though. How about, again, I don't know if he gets, I think he'll get drafted. So it's hard to be give me a guy that's going to have a significant impact that won't get drafted. But what about Cam Akers? Yeah, I mean,
sure.
A year removed, this is a guy who had success in the NFL. Last year didn't do anything, but it was his first year back from injury. I feel like there's going to be a ton of opportunity for him in LA. There's not a lot of competition there. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of, when you're talking undrafted, you have to look at, you got to go pretty far down.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
But, so I would look at things like, all right, well, what if Derrick Henry gets traded? And then all of a sudden,
Spears,
someone like Tajay Spears, who is going to fill the void when Jameson Williams is out for 6 weeks? Is there someone who can fill that? There's not that many inspiring choices there. Is there a chance that one of these Baltimore receivers really ignites? Rashad Bateman's going to get drafted. Could Rashad Bateman be a wide receiver 2 in fantasy? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So, I mean, you have to start getting into pretty unlikely outcomes in terms of undrafted. But, yeah, Tajay Spears.
I would think maybe Isaiah Hodgins. I think he gets drafted, but I think he's somebody that starts. I mean, they have 5'8" wide receivers, and they just don't have a lot of size. He's going to start at the X position.
Yeah.
He'll probably be taken at the end of the draft. At the end of most drafts.
I could see Jalen Hyatt, but it's going to be the only other one I might say is that's sort of interesting that probably won't get drafted is some of the second tier tight ends that you could see. I mean, Cole Kmet's going to go outside the top 10. Juwan Johnson with the Saints is going to go outside the top 10. I know they've signed Foster Moreau, but Juwan Johnson could have a big year here. They brought him back. Could have an Evan Ingram like last year kind of role. So
when with this kind of stuff, you want really high variance. So
my Chig Okonkwo.
Yeah, Chiggy.
I love Chiggy.
Sure. What about if Jordan Love is just really good, and then Romeo Doubs, who's probably going to get drafted, but Romeo Doubs was incredible at the start of last season and looked like people thought he was just going to be Devontae Adams, and then it never really happened for him, but the talent is there, so I don't know, Romeo Doubs as well, I think could exceed expectations.
Okay. Yeah.
One more football one here. With Juju and Mecole gone in Kansas City, are we already at do or die for Sky Moore dynasty relevancy? That is from Unconventional Strength.
I don't think so, not yet. I mean, he's still young. They really like him. He can play special teams as well. I prefer Kadarius Toney over Sky Moore if we're talking about sort of Kansas City. By the way, that's a guy that could be a difference maker that probably won't get drafted. Is Rashee Rice? Kadarius Toney's going to get drafted, but Rashee Rice, who we did meet at the rookie premiere, who Mahomes lobbied to get drafted. They worked out this summer. And Rashee Rice was bigger in person than I thought he was. He's a bigger-bodied guy than I think perhaps he's perceived as. So it'll be interesting, obviously.
Yep. I have to say something, because we're not going to be on for a couple of months. The best bet on the board is Patrick Mahomes to win MVP at plus 700. It's a ridiculous price. Patrick Mahomes is going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. If you think the plus 700 isn't value, you think he's less than a 13% chance to win MVP. It's Patrick Mahomes. You should just be plus 200 every year. So go bet Patrick Mahomes, and I'll see you in July.
Oh, there you go. I like that. I'll give you two other two other dark horses, just as we're thinking about this, as you mentioned, that I don't think will get drafted, or if they do, it'll be late. Two guys in Arizona, Rondell Moore and Keontae Ingram. So again, they didn't really sign a running back, so we'll see if one of these veterans wind up there. But otherwise, he's the backup to James Conner, who has struggled with health over his career. He stayed healthy mostly for the last 2 years, but Keontae Ingram could be, I could see a scenario where he has a decent role this year. So Keontae Ingram, and then also, again, we don't know how the Hopkins situation is going to play out. They're saying he's back, but there's a scenario where DeAndre Hopkins isn't on this team come opening day. And Rondell Moore, when he was healthy, we always talked about the human Dortch, but and again, it's a new offense, so who knows? But that role, that slot role for Arizona last year, whether it was Dortch or Rondell Moore, got a ton of targets. And so Moore, who's had a bunch of injuries, but we've seen flashes of it from Rondell Moore. And that's a guy that, because it's a bad team and Kyler's not starting. And
we're throwing a lot.
Yeah, I just think they'll be throwing a lot. And Colt McCoy, certainly with his noodle arm, will be throwing to Rondell Moore. He does have a noodle arm.
Vicious.
When Rondell Moore or Dortch were in there and Colt McCoy was under center, they were getting a ton of looks just because McCoy just doesn't go deep. He doesn't go deep. So there you go.
Did you guys see the video when Jonathan Gannon met Rondell Moore?
No.
Oh, I can't even do the impression. He did, when you meet someone, you shake their hand, tap him up or something. He just goes, shoo, like he's fast. That was his. Wow. And Rondell Moore kind of stood there and looked at him, and then they tapped up. Very interesting introduction.
That's what Matthew did in the hallways at the BAs who were walking by before.
And
I'm telling everybody to go Google it right now. It's unbelievable.
Right, and
terrifying.
Weirdly, back to me, they went.
Oh man, a car without a wheel.
Stafford.
Our last question for Ask Matthew.
This isn't over yet. All right, what do we got?
For Ask Matthew Anything. This one is from Spencer. Will you be at the Indy 500? NBC has been using you on a variety of other sports they cover, and there's a 3.5-hour pre-race show.
I will not be, unfortunately, at the Indy 500. I don't know why I'm not. We talked about it at some point, and then just
get a better agent.
I got to get a better agent. I got to yell at it.
Levy got me in there.
Yeah, Josh Levy got you there. I got to yell at Josh Levy, being Connor's agent. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be at the Indy 500. I have been before as a spectator. It is an amazing experience. It's awesome. I'm rooting for my guy, Marcus Erickson. He's my guy because I interviewed him at the Kentucky Derby. He's last year's winner, so we'll see if he can repeat. Be a lot of drama there. So I will not be there, but I will be watching. I'm looking forward to it. And maybe I'll have some more milk like I did last week. Do we have that clip?
All right, let's get to it.
Oh, yeah, there we do. We have that screenshot.
Yeah.
That's two winners right there. That's two different ways to drink milk right there.
No, that's one winner and one man with a straw.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.